Hi, this is Tyler Woods, and you're listening to KMKR LP 99.9 FM Tucson and Music Matters. And today in the studio, I have Christopher T. Stevens. Welcome, Christopher.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Tyler.
I have several people that kept IMing me on Facebook. Do Christopher, talk to Christopher. And one of the things I've learned by doing this is getting the courage up to ask total strangers to come in my house and do a radio interview. Mm-hmm. And I have a feeling this is going to be a really good one because I went in and I did my research and listened to a little bit, and you're amazing.
Well, thank you. I really I appreciate that.
So let's talk. You were telling me you do blues, but there's a variety of blues that you do. Could you educate us a little bit and definitely educate our audience about the different types of blues?
Well, blues is a real general term that gets used for a lot of different music. How I came into the blues was through African American Gandy dance music, originally through the music of Robert Johnson, and then some being raised on Southern gospel music coming up. I specify that what I play is acoustic Mississippi Delta blues, country blues, folk blues, and I specialize in what's called Bentonian Mississippi blues, and that's a real minor open tuning and has a real haunting effect. Best known from that area was Skip James.
And it's called Bentonian blues.
Bentonian, Mississippi is in Yazoo County. My mentor is a gentleman by the name of Jimmy Duck Holmes, and his family's had the Blue Front Cafe. Jimmy's he's in his 70s, and they've had the Blue Front Cafe, which is the oldest remaining juke joint in Mississippi. And he's somebody that mentored me specifically in those Bentonia blues, and he's really the last of the living Bentonia bluesmen to have received it directly from Jack Owens.
And you were mentored by him.
That's correct.
What an honor and a privilege. I can't imagine.
It's a total blessing to my life.
No kidding. Wow, then I feel real honored sitting with you because you have been mentored by the last living person of this kind of music. So
he's a generous-hearted individual who has shown me more about this music than I could have ever learned, really.
That's incredible. So I think before we get going too far, I'm going to go ahead and let people give a listen to what you play. So what song are we going to be listening to?
Well, I think the first song, or a good place to start would be Sunhouse's Pony Blues, that I do my own version of Sunhouse's Pony Blues song.
Okay. And so we're sitting with Christopher T. Stevens. We're going to be listening to Sunhouse's Pony Blues, and we are live in the studio here at KMKR.
Hence my pony, I don't saddle my black mare. It's my pony, you know I'm gonna saddle my black mare. You know I'm gonna find my baby in this great big world somewhere. You know he's a traveling horse, and he's too black bad. You know, he's a traveling home, and he's too black bad. You know, he got a gate there settling he never had. You know, I take him by the rein and I let him round and round. You know, I take him by the rein and I let him round and round. You know, we can travel. The best in this town. He's a traveling horse. He don't deny his name. You know he's a traveling horse. Pony don't deny his name. Wicked drivers are low down dirty shame. Why don't you come here, pony? Yeah, come on, let's just ride. I said, come here now, pony. Come on, let's us go. Say we saddle up, going down to the Gulf of Mexico. You know the horse that I'm riding, he can foxtrot, lope and tease. You know the horse I'm riding, like a low trodden pace. He's a traveling horse, you don't deny his name. Not the best in the world, but about the wind and the breeze. He's a traveling horse, you don't deny his name. Here can travel is a low down shame.
Christopher, you're the reason why I love the blues so much. That was incredible. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
And talk to me about where you're from. I mean, where are you from?
Well, I was born and raised. You know, I wish I really could show people this place. I wish I still had the exact address so that people could look it up on Google Maps. But it's about an hour. So I grew up about an hour southwest of Indianapolis, and then I also split my time between there and my grandparents' house in southern Indiana.
Okay.
Down in Mount Vernon, Indiana, which is Posey County. My granddad couldn't say the words Posey County without saying watermelons for sale. It was just some of the best melons in the country right there. But
See, now you're talking my language.
so I really just had such a beautiful, blessed upbringing. I grew up way out in the country, and was the firstborn child on both my grandparents' side, and had the great pleasure of spending a great deal of time with not only my grandparents but my great-grandparents as well, and of course my parents, who were just very loving people.
You sound like a real family man kind of guy.
I think it's real important to, with my own children. I have 2 children. My son's at Vassar College in Poughkeepsie, New York. He's a filmmaker. And my daughter's at Tucson High. And my whole approach with my own children is to really just love them up while I have them.
Exactly.
You know? And because I know when I was about 18, 19, I took off. I wanted to be out and took my guitar on the road and really just hitched all over this country playing my music on the street. And sometimes it'd be a little while before I talked to my parents, you know. And then when I had my own children, I was first to be going back to my own parents and telling them how much I appreciated them in a way that I had never realized.
Yeah, I think that's important because, you know, I swear it was just last week I was talking to my father, but he's been gone for 6 years. So it happens really fast, and the people that we love, and
yeah, my dad died about, I guess it'd be about 13 years ago. He died very suddenly. A tree came down on him.
Oh my goodness.
And so that has a huge effect, you know, on that immediacy to, hey, just be as kind as you can be and be as loving as you can be, not only toward others, but especially toward yourself. And to me, it has to start there.
Okay, I'm really liking you already, you know, because, you know, by day I'm a psychotherapist.
Aww.
And I'm always teaching people that, you know, you can go and buy things and buy a house and buy a car and you can fall in love. But if you don't love yourself first, what's the point?
I think it's the truest work anyone ever does on this planet, is to gain any kind of inroads into their truer being, or that deeper part of themselves that does not reside on the surface. It's not your name, your occupation, really your family, your friends. It's who you are deep
That's
within
your
you.
soul.
Yes.
You know, it's like soulness. Because
It
I
is.
think, and I say this to my clients, is soulness is wholeness.
Yeah.
And you got that. And I think as a musician, we're both musicians, I think as a musician, that's priority, because I don't know about you, but for me, my music comes from my very core of my soul.
Well, if I'm honest about what I'm doing, a lot of times my mom would always say to me, she'd come to see me play, she'd say, "Oh, honey, you gotta open your eyes," you know. and sometimes it's just there's a certain place I need to go within myself to stay true to the song that I'm performing, whether it's my own, whether it's one shown to me by my mentors, or one that I decide to study and pick up on my own. To stay true to this music, I have to stay true to that.
Yeah, it's like I meditate twice a day, so it's kind of almost like a meditation for your music. Would that be correct in assuming that?
Yeah, growing up in the church as a kid, I learned prayer, and that served me for some time. Coming out of the church, I got into meditation, and then coming through meditation, I really found contemplation. And to me, contemplation is something you can do 24/7. You can do a driving contemplation. You can do a washing the dishes contemplation, walking the dogs contemplation.
Kind of like the Zen of contemplation.
It's just, I needed something 24/7. I have the great good fortune of having a spiritual teacher, a Satguru, that after 20 some odd years of studying the light and sound teachings, that has redirected my attention that would normally go down and out into the world and draws it inwardly and upwardly just in the study of consciousness.
I'm really liking you.
No.
I have sat with the Dalai Lama. I'm a Buddhist.
Oh.
I've sat with the Dalai Lama, and I was raised Mormon, and knew that it wasn't right for me, and stumbled upon the Buddhist teachings, and it changed my whole life, my lifestyle. It changed how I played music, how I saw music, and I think it's, we never broached this topic much on the show, but that I believe that spirituality, our personal spirituality, and music go hand in hand.
I totally agree with that.
That's good to hear.
To me, our life is a spiritual journey.
It is.
Whether we're conscious of that or not, it really doesn't matter. To me, a great law that I try and live by is just giving everyone a right to their very own beingness. That's what I try to protect of myself, is just a right to my own beingness. I feel like that's what people want more than anything. And when it's infringed upon, that's why it is so offensive, because we know it's our inherent right to just be. Especially if we're not hurting anyone, then who is anyone else to judge what anyone else is doing?
Exactly. Whew. Well, that was interesting. Really, I'm sitting here shaking your hand. It's like, I love that, and we need to talk about it. We need to talk about it more, because as musicians, we can get discouraged easily. As musicians, a lot of things happen when there's a lot. It's very competitive, and for me, I do it simply for the love of music. No competition. I'm not better than anybody. I'm not worse than anybody. I am just music, and having that attitude beats the heck out of. Now that I'm in my 60s, I can have that attitude. In my 20s and 30s, you couldn't tell me to have that attitude.
I really feel like, just based on your own experiences, are you going to live your life? Not based on the experiences of anyone else, and those experiences are very hard won. We earn those experiences. We've earned the right to have this very precious and beautiful life that we have currently.
Well said. Well said. So, let's get back to music.
Sure.
When did you come to Tucson?
Well, I came here the first time about 91 or 92. I'd been in New York City, living there for about a year. Went back to Indiana briefly, and then decided I was going to go west. Stopped in Tucson. I had 2 aunt and uncles, and my godparents lived here.
Okay.
So I was going to L.A. I wanted to see what was going on the West Coast, and stopped in Tucson. My aunt and uncle asked me to watch my cousins, who were quite a bit younger than me, while they went and did some traveling, and so I agreed to that, and that was about 2 or 3 weeks, and within that time, my godfather had called me and said, hey, there's this place, Old Tucson. He knew I'd done some theater and stuff in school, and so he said, they're hiring gunfighters and stuntmen out there, so he said, you ought to go check it out. So I did. I went out right at the crack of dawn one day and drove out to Gates Pass for the first time. Turned that corner right at the top that goes to the left there, and that desert valley just opened up before my eyes, and literally blew my mind. Really blew my mind. I ended up working at Old Tucson as a gunfighter for a year and a half, 2 years before I left Tucson, went traveling around, and then just kept coming back to Tucson. And then 98 is when I came back here to life.
I have to tell you, my father built Old Tucson.
Is that right?
Yeah, I grew up in Old Tucson because my father did a lot of the sets. He built the entire set of the Old Chaparral.
Oh, wow.
And as kids, we got to go watch them all. filming it.
Yeah.
And it was about, 10 years ago. I was working for the newspaper, volunteering to do articles, and it was my editor called me and said, Tyler, the old Show Up Parole crew was going to be at Old Tucson, and those that are left alive, and he said, go out and cover it, because my column was called Retroflections.
Yeah.
So I get out there, and of course they don't recognize me, it's been a long time, but the incredible thing is I said my father's name, Jim Hill. I go, my dad, Jim Hill, built this, and I'm like, and they're like, I go, yeah, and they remembered me, so
Sweet.
I have a lot of fond memories of Old Tucson because my father built it. Of course, it burnt, but the High Chaparral was never touched by the fire.
Right.
So
that actually was the place all of us stunt guys would go out in the morning and kind of have a little powwow session before we came back into town. I mean, it was our job to mess with national and international tourists, basically.
Yeah, sure.
And it was a good time. It really was good. I started getting banged up a little bit more than I wanted, and my music was just starting to take off, and I felt a real call to go back out on the road, just take my dog and my guitar and a rucksack and travel around and play.
Well, let's travel back to another one of your songs, shall we?
Sure.
Which ones are you going to play for us?
Well, I think another good one to put on there would be Take My Hand is a song I wrote really specifically about growing up where I grew up and really having such a really blessed life, but also that I feel like I wouldn't be able to appreciate those blessings if I didn't have some just real, true life and death experiences. And when I reflect on my childhood and just growing up out in the country, they were numerous.
Okay, so a reminder that you're listening to KMKR LP 99.9 FM Tucson, and this is Music Matters. I'm sitting with Christopher T. Stevens, and we're going to listen to an original song, Take My Hand, and we're live in the studios right now.
Well, I was born in the amber waves. You set me down in the field again. You give me such a fine head and heart. Such a mighty fine, sweet old place to start. There's a time when you knock me down, let me right in the world. Was the end of this life as far as I could tell. Oh, you pulled me up, you threw a road, lifting me out each time. Man, there's a reason, right? the slide. So I said, please, come on, take my hand. I said, please, take my hand. There's a time when you love me, right in a prison cage. With my head and heart and hands all full of rage. I like keeping my cup high, right on these bars. But you show me nothing changed too far. I said, please, come on, take my hand. I said, please, come on, take my hand. Oh, I said, please, come on, take my hand. Lift me up, it's time. Won't you please take my hand? Come on, take my hand.
Wow. What do you say to someone who plays as well as you do? Do you consider yourself a good player?
No.
I love you have no ego. Ego serves no real purpose.
What I really mean by that is that, so all musical instruments at best can imitate what the human voice can do. And to me, my voice is my first instrument.
Okay.
And I play enough guitar and piano, and I play a handful of other instruments. But it's really all to support the voice.
The voice, okay. Very good. So, where can people hear you at? Where do you play in Tucson?
Well, I play all different places. I should mention the beer and the brewery community has been super sweet to me in bringing me in, and at this point, it's hard for me to play a place unless I get a certain guarantee. That's just business.
Mm-hmm.
And they've been very generous with me and really have not balked at that because I feel like they know I bring something special. I have a residency at a place called Tap and Bottle.
I'm familiar.
Yeah, sweet people there. And
what
so
days can people catch you?
Yeah, that's the last Sunday of every month from 5 to 7 at the downtown Tap and Bottle, and that's at 6th 6th Avenue and 7th Street.
Okay.
And usually that's just me solo with my guitar, and then sometimes I have folks sit in with me.
Okay.
Yeah. And
you play at other breweries too? Or?
Yeah, I've played all around 1055 and Harbottle. I've played over there. I've played on the stage at Hotel Congress. I've played the Rialto.
Okay.
Yeah.
You have to be grateful for all the breweries that are coming into Tucson. I don't drink, but I think it's cool that there are breweries here. But the breweries are featuring music now, and it's just incredible. And, you don't need a big stage or any kind of stage, just clear some tables and put the musicians down, and the music will speak for itself. So I'm going to have to check you out because one of the people that said interview Christopher had a little video of you, and it was like I was just enamored by the blues and the style of blues you were playing. And I think the blues is complicated more than so than what people think. They're like, oh, the blues all sounds alike, and it's like, no, they don't.
Yeah, no, it's and that's what I started out by saying. All kinds of things get called blues.
Sure. Some of the rock songs get
totally,
some country songs.
Yeah, it's I don't have too much to say about that, but I know that what I do is rooted in just the deep front and back porch, the down home blues, and then writing my own music
that's
in that
the
style.
Blues right there.
Yeah.
Is a down home blues.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So something I want to ask you, because we were slightly touching on this topic, and I ask everybody this question, and that is, how has modern technology affected you, if at all, as a musician?
Well, it's something I really always feel like I should take greater advantage of. I have almost phobia about putting my music online, about trying to distribute it through digital mediums. It's a strange thing. Computer technology came around when I was in probably a sophomore or junior in high school is when we actually had a computer lab. And I didn't want to have anything to do with it except maybe the art program, like being able to draw and paint on a computer was of intrigue. But that was, that technology just went on past me. I still have a flip phone. I just don't care for. We are a computer. We're greater than
our body
any
is a
computer.
machine, yeah.
And these are wonderful tools. Don't get me wrong. These are wonderful tools. But when I see people using them in a way that puts other people in harm's way, trying to drive and be distracted, or trying to sit and have a conversation with somebody, and it's almost like people are forgetting how to do that anymore. And usually they'll have their device sitting right out there, right in the middle of the conversation.
Yeah.
And I'm old school.
Well,
we had a rotary telephone until I was. My parents didn't get a push button phone until I had left the house.
Well, I'm not old school. I do have issues with telephones. I have issues that parents are not correcting their children the way they should because they're too busy on their cell phone. I take real issue when I go into a restaurant and everybody, including the small children, are on tablets or phones, and there's no more connection, and we're not exchanging an energetic connection because the devices are in the way. Music-wise, I'm really grateful that I can sit here in a 24-track studio. That's just on my computer, and the thing only costed me $100, you know. So I'm grateful for that, or the USB mic that we're talking through. And I don't even own a CD player. The CD player in my computer doesn't even work. So I am a streamer. But you know, someone said they got something like 2,500 plays on streaming, and it was enough money that almost paid for 5 of their CDs. Because the CDs make a lot more money. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't own CD players. So I am a streamer. However, with that said, I do appreciate the mixture, the balance of both worlds.
I really feel like the recorded music that I have is just self-recorded. I look forward to a time. This past summer, I was offered studio time. I went in, did 11 actually. 8 were supposed to be on the CD, and I got burned.
Oh, okay.
I got really burned. And so that I don't want to say I'm jaded. I would love to go into someone's studio that really knew what they were doing and really appreciated my music.
Exactly.
Was not doing it for. I'm not doing this for. Would not wish fame or anything like that on anybody.
Right. Well, let's face it, we're too old to be famous.
That's right. That's right. I'm way too old. Although I gotta say, my mentors, you know, I've expressed some of that to my mentors, and they've said, "Oh, you're young in the game. You got."
Well, how young are you?
Well, I'll be. I'll be 49 on New Year's Eve.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm 61, and I'm just too old to want to have anything more than just sharing what my heart and soul believes in. So.
Oh well, I wouldn't be doing it otherwise. If I was.
I hear you.
You know, I like to be successful enough that I could,
make a decent living.
Make a decent living, and that's enough. That's plenty.
Speaking of that, tell me, if you could give advice to young musicians, what's some of the advice that you would hand down to them?
Well, I'd say just stay true to yourself. You know, don't be out there trying to impress anybody.
Yeah.
You know, just do you. Stay as true as you can to what moves you, and also don't let anybody stop you.
That's a good one.
Don't let anyone say, "Hey,
especially
you're not."
You though, because we stop ourselves often.
Sure.
You know, as a younger musician, I stopped myself way too many times. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'd say another thing is just go and do it, and find like-minded. You know, to me, there's the law of vibration. You're going to take on the vibration of what you hang out with. That's whatever people, whatever place. You are going to be colored by that. You know, find good people. You know, find some serious people. People that know how to have some serious, good, clean fun. And people who are doing music because they love doing music.
And that's the bottom line.
Yeah.
Well, I can't thank you enough for being in the studio with us today. And I want to leave people with, by the way, do you have a web page or anything?
I don't. I just have my Facebook page. It's just, if you're looking me up, it's either Christopher T. Stevens or Christopher Todd Stevens. That's my personal page.
Okay.
A dear friend of mine is helping me. We're working on a website, but it's slow going. So.
Well, you know, with Facebook, it's free and it's easy, and can give people an idea of who you are, what you do, and where you're going.
I just played a show at Crooked Tooth Brewery the other night, good folks, and there were a couple of folks there that came up to me afterwards. They really loved my music, and I gave them a card, and then they went on my Facebook page and said, "Hey, we can't follow you." And so I had no idea, but then she said, "Oh, you may want to go check your settings." I went and checked my settings and made an adjustment, and so like I say, I had no idea. If she would have never said anything to me about that.
Sure. Well, good thing she did.
Yeah, it's good. So.
Okay, so you can catch him at Christopher Todd Stevens or Christopher T. Stevens on Facebook. And Christopher, what a delight. You have been an inspiration in here today.
Oh, thank you,
My heart's
Tyler.
very big.
I really appreciate it, and I really hope it is encouraging to people.
I hope so too. Music is my salvation. It's the one thing that saves me when I'm discouraged or down or whatever. So tell me what song we're going to end with.
Well, I think what I'll end you with is another original tune that I wrote that's called Jenks Blues. And if you've spent any time on the Jersey Shore, you'll understand Jenks Blues. But it's a true story, actually.
Okay, so thank you so much for coming to the studio. And you all need to keep an eye on Mr. Christopher T. Stevens, because I've listened to him. He's incredible and brings the blues to Tucson like nobody else does. So thank you very much, and thank you for listening to the show. My name is Tyler Woods. You're listening to KMKR, and we are going to do Jenks Blues by Christopher T. Stevens. And I'll catch you on the other side of this song.
I walked all night from Chicago. I walked the night before. I walked all night from Chicago. Before. Find me my little sugar. I'm gonna throw myself right in that shore. All night from Chicago. Oh, I walked the whole night before. She got a ship right there on the ocean. Says, oh, I'm begging, please don't let me drown. She got a bag of diamonds. I walked all night from Chicago. I walked the whole night before. If I don't find my baby, I'm gonna throw myself right in the shore. Dicks.